Hello everyone, and welcome to a very nice game that was played in 1874 in Hague. It's played between Joseph Henry Blackburne and Henry William Birkmyre Gifford. Now, this isn't the first time I'm making a video on Joseph Henry Blackburne, who you all know was called the Black Death. I will put a couple of links in the description below where you can check up on some of his other games where I introduced him and said something more about him. And in my previous videos I would often ask my audience why they called him the Black Death. And there were always a lot of interesting answers, although I don't really think it's known why he was called the Black Death. It's probably it is written somewhere in some history books, but since the last video I did on Mr. Joseph Henry Blackburne, this channel did grow a couple of 100,000 subscribers, so maybe some of our new friends could have a better idea of why they called him the Black Death. Yeah, there are currently a lot of draws happening in the World Chess Championship, and I thought, as a lot of you are disappointed with Game 12 and the quick draw, I just wanted to mention that there is currently a tournament being played between engines in the chess.com engine championship, where they're playing, all the games are being played from the position where Carlsen and Caruana agreed to a draw. So I will put a link to that in the description below as well if you want to, check that out. But yeah, getting back to this game, Blackburne's opponent is Henry William Birkmyre Gifford, and there is not a lot of information available on him other than that he was an English chess master and that he was the first unofficial Dutch champion. Other than this game, there are a couple of more games available played by him. He competed in, I believe it's 1878 Paris tournament, which was won by Johannes Zukertort, student of Adolf Anderssen, and there I believe he won some 11th place, whereas Joseph Henry Blackburne won 2nd place. So 4 years from now they will also meet, and Blackburne will win both of their encounters. But this game, it's really crazy, and well, let's just dive straight into it. I'm sure you will enjoy it, as we've been facing so many supercomputer games for the past 2 weeks, that I'm sure this will come off as a refreshment. And as usual, since I don't have a photo of Mr. Henry William Birkmyre Gifford, and there is not all that much information available on him, I am honoring the old master by wearing a hoodie. And also there is a photo of the hoodie guy there. So e4 by Blackburne. We have e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and now d4, the Scotch game. We have e captures on d4, and now bishop to c4. This is the Scotch Gambit, and white and black decides to go for bishop to c5. This is a well-known line, but there is just one move I would like to mention, because there is a very cool game played by Paul Morphy, where Morphy's opponent, who's also a hoodie guy, played bishop to b4 check. And Morphy actually played this game without his rook on a1, so with rook odds. And I'm just gonna blitz out through it just so you see what happens. c3, Morphy defends from check. Pawn captures, now Morphy castles. We have captures. Morphy is threatening the pawn here. Mr. Hoodie guy goes back, defends the pawn, and now e5 by Morphy. d6, we have rook to e1, pawn captures, and knight captures, and Hoodie guy captures the queen. Queen captures on d1, and here Morphy just finishes the game in great style. Bishop captures on f7 with check, king e7, knight to g6 check, king captures on f7, and now comes knight captures on h8. And believe it or not, this is checkmate, as the bishop is controlling the f6 square, the knight is controlling the g6 square, and the rook from e1 is controlling all of the squares on the e file, and the black king has nowhere to go. The interface is still giving me some issues here. But yeah, a very nice game, and I did a video on this game a long time ago. But yeah, here in this game, bishop to c5 instead of this, bishop to b4 check. Knight to g5, a similar idea as in the two knights defense, where you want to go hard against this f7 pawn. But the same idea defense-wise does not apply. In the two knights defense, black will often go d5, but here you can simply capture it. And now if knight e5, then white can simply exchange everything. Captures, queen h5 check, g6, queen captures here, and white will simply win a pawn, and okay, black might get some nice development, but all in all, white should be better. So here after knight g5, we have knight to h6 defending the f7 pawn this way, queen to h5 with a triple attack against the f7 pawn, and now queen to e7 defending. Here we have f4, and here you can notice that this game was played in some 1874, some 150 years before today. And today in modern chess, you know that you definitely want to push your d pawn, make room for this bishop. And if this was a modern game, d5 would be played after bishop captures, knight b4 comes with an attack against the bishop. Also, you're threatening the c2 pawn, so something active would have been played. But as this is a very old game, we have castles here immediately. And okay, it seems that black is now perfectly safe. There are no more attacks here. White castles as well. And here we have d6. d3 with check isn't all that great. After king h1 captures and knight c3, white will simply have improved the position of his king, and also the knight will have been developed. The knight is now coming to d5, so nothing good is happening here for black. So black has the right idea. He wants to develop his pieces as well. We have d6, now comes f5, an excellent move by white, threatening the knight on h6, and also hindering the development of the bishop on c8. We have d3 with check. Black now goes for this, but still the result is same. White simply improves the position of his king. Pawn captures on c2, and now knight to c3. This knight is now definitely coming to d5. We have knight to e5, going after the bishop on c4, and here this is the, well, the first critical moment in the game. Here white can simply win the game by force, and I will give you a moment to pause the video here and try to find the winning idea for white, even though it was not played in the game. But it's interesting why it wasn't played. So I'll give you a couple of seconds as usual. For those of you who are able to do it, you are definitely not a romantic person, as this move was not played in the game, but you would have won the game. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, knight captures on h7, wins the game by force. King captures, and now f6. The queen is under attack. You will either lose the queen, or you will capture the pawn and then face queen captures, king g8. Knight is now coming here after the queen moves. Well, you can either go to d8 and then give up the queen, or go here and then face mate in 1. Or on the other hand, after f6, you don't have to capture it. You can even move the queen, but then comes f captures on g7, simply attacking the rook. After rook moves, captures, and this will be checkmate. So here you can end the game immediately, basically. But this was 1874, and in those days it wasn't just about beating your opponent. You also had to be cool while you did it. So here, Joseph Henry Blackburne, whom they called the Black Death, plays knight to d5. First, he improves the position of his knight and brings another piece into the attack. We have queen to d8 here, and only now does he play f6. And here we have a very nice move by black. Here, Mr. Henry William Birkmyre Gifford plays knight back to g6. And here he's preparing bishop to g4. Bishop to g4 would be an excellent move here because it would trap the white queen. But Mr. Black Death doesn't mind. He plays f captures on g7. Now, bishop to g4 doesn't work because with this pawn capture, you also remove the defender of the knight on h6. So queen captures on h6 is also a threat. But we have king captures on g7. Now black simply again prepares the bishop to g4 to trap the queen. But again, we have a position where so many moves win for white. Knight to f6 wins for white. Knight captures on h7 wins for white. But still, this is 1874, and you have to play the coolest move and still beat your opponent. So feel free to pause the video here. Imagine it's 1874, and just play a move. I'll give you a couple of seconds, just to give it a shot. For those of you who were able to do it, congratulations, you now definitely are a romantic person. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, the move Joseph Henry Blackburne played is queen captures on h6, of course. And now you can either go somewhere like g8 or h8 and face mate in 1 with queen captures on h7, or you can accept the queen sacrifice. King captures on h6 was played, and now of course comes knight to e6 check, delivering a discovered check from the bishop on c1, and also the knight from e6 is covering the g7 square and the g5 square. So you can either go to h5, or you can prolong the suffering with knight to f4. As black also is playing in the most romantic way possible, he decides to take his king for a walk. We have king to h5, bishop to e2 check, taking the king deeper in. We have king to h4, and now again we have a very exciting moment where white is actually able to deliver mate in 2. Rook to f5 followed by rook to h5 is checkmate in 2, and there's really nothing black can do about it, but it is not cool enough for Mr. Black Death, so he goes rook to f4 check. Decides to sacrifice even more material to make his victory all the more great. We have knight captures on f4, now comes g3, the king is forced to come to h3, king comes to h3, and now while you can capture the knight on f4 with either knight, he decides to do it with this knight, knight e captures on f4, and this is now checkmate as the pawn is preventing the king from escaping to h4, this bishop is covering the light squares here, and the king is of course covering the g2 square. So, a beautiful checkmate, a very nice 20-move game, and I do hope it was at least a little bit of a refreshment for for this entire World Chess Championship series that, although extremely exciting, you know, people do appreciate a shorter game now and then. So yeah, that's basically the game. I do hope you enjoyed it, and although there isn't a lot of information available on Henry William Birkmyre Gifford, I was able to find this grave. It's a website that, you know, follows where all the graves are, and there you can see on the bottom it says Henry William Birkmyre Gifford, and on the top is Eliza. Eliza was his wife, so I believe the website got it right. It's located somewhere in Greater London. I will put a link to the address in the description below. You know, if you're somewhere around Greater London, maybe you would like to pay the old Grandmaster a visit. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Bharatavas Ravi, Paul Hurst, an anonymous person, Brian Mithach, and Maximilian Svitter for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, hopefully with some more interesting content. And yeah, do check out the useful links in the description below. There is always something fun to see there. Thank you all, and I will see you soon.